Long before the United States became the world's most powerful nation, before New York's skyscrapers pierced the clouds, before the Statue of Liberty welcomed millions, before George Washington, the Constitution, or even the first Native American tribes, there was nothing that resembled America. No cities, no roads, no borders, only a wild, untamed world shaped by unimaginable forces of nature over billions of years. But here's the incredible part. Everything that made the United States possible, its fertile farmland, towering mountains, mighty rivers, and vast natural resources, was created long before the first human ever set foot on this continent. To understand the story of America, we must first travel back, not thousands, but billions of years. This is where the history of the United States truly begins. When people think about American history, they usually begin with Christopher Columbus or the 13 British colonies. But those events happened only yesterday compared to the incredible story of the land itself. Because before there was a nation called the United States, there was a continent slowly being built by volcanoes, oceans, earthquakes, glaciers, and time itself. Our journey begins at the birth of North America. Around 4.5 billion years ago, the Earth itself was born from a swirling cloud of gas and dust surrounding the young sun. The newborn planet was nothing like the world we know today. Its surface was covered by an ocean of molten rock. Massive volcanoes erupted almost continuously, while gigantic asteroids slammed into the planet with unimaginable force. For hundreds of millions of years, Earth slowly cooled. Solid crust began to form, and over time, enormous pieces of that crust started drifting across the planet. These giant moving landmasses became known as tectonic plates. Their slow but unstoppable movement would shape every continent on Earth, including North America. The oldest rocks found in North America are nearly 4 billion years old, making parts of the continent among the oldest surviving pieces of Earth's crust. Over billions of years, ancient volcanic islands collided with the growing continent. Mountain ranges rose into the sky, while oceans opened and closed again and again. Some of America's most famous landscapes, including parts of the Appalachian Mountains, began forming hundreds of millions of years before dinosaurs ever appeared. The continent we know today was not created overnight. It was built piece by piece over an almost unimaginable span of time. But North America still didn't look the way it does today. Around 335 million years ago, nearly all of Earth's land was joined together in one enormous supercontinent called Pangea. If you could stand on that ancient world, North America would still be attached to Europe and Africa. But deep beneath the surface, Earth's tectonic plates never stopped moving. Around 200 million years ago, Pangea slowly began to break apart. North America drifted westward, while the Atlantic Ocean gradually opened between the continents. The separation continues even today by just a few centimeters every year. Then came one of the most dramatic chapters in Earth's history. Beginning roughly 2.6 million years ago, enormous ice sheets spread across much of North America. Some glaciers were more than 2 miles, or over 3 kilometers, thick. For thousands of years, these frozen giants slowly carved valleys, shaped mountains, and transformed the landscape. As the glaciers advanced and retreated, they created many of the Great Lakes, the largest group of freshwater lakes on Earth. They also left behind rich soil across the Central Plains, which would one day become some of the most productive farmland in the world. Powerful rivers like the Mississippi and Missouri carved their paths across the continent, creating natural highways that would later support trade, settlement, and expansion. Towering mountain ranges rose in the west, while broad coastal plains stretched along the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico. Long before any civilization arrived, nature had already prepared the foundation for one of history's greatest nations. By the end of the Ice Age, North America had become a land of breathtaking forests, vast grasslands, towering mountains, and endless rivers. It was beautiful. It was rich with opportunity. But it was still empty of human civilization. That was about to change. In the next chapter, a small group of humans will begin a journey unlike any in history, crossing an icy bridge from Asia into a new world, unknowingly becoming the first people to call America home. Crossing into North America was only the beginning. Ahead of these early families lay a continent unlike anything they had ever known. Towering mountain ranges, endless forests, frozen tundras, vast grasslands, and rivers that stretched farther than the eye could see. What began as a journey for survival will become the beginning of a new chapter in human history. As the glaciers slowly retreated, North America began to reveal an extraordinary landscape. Small groups of hunter-gatherers spread across the continent over thousands of years. They traveled on foot, following rivers, crossing valleys, and discovering lands no human had ever seen before. Every new generation pushed farther south, eventually reaching what is now Canada, the United States, Mexico, and even the southern tip of South America. One migration had become the peopling of two entire continents. For many years, archaeologists believed the Clovis people were the first culture to spread widely across North America. Around 13,000 years ago, they crafted beautifully shaped stone spear points, tools so distinctive that they have been discovered across much of the United States. These weapons allowed skilled hunters to bring down enormous Ice Age animals, including mammoths, ancient bison, and giant ground sloths. Although newer discoveries suggest that humans may have arrived even earlier, the Clovis culture remains one of the earliest well-documented civilizations in North America. Life was never easy. Every day was a struggle against nature. Families built temporary shelters from wood, animal hides, and mammoth bones. They gathered berries, caught fish, hunted wild animals, and learned to survive in every environment the continent offered. Over thousands of years, different groups adapted to different climates. Some lived in frozen northern forests. Others settled across open plains, while many followed rivers and coastlines rich with food. These communities slowly developed their own languages, traditions, beliefs, and unique ways of life. Modern science continues to rewrite this remarkable story. Ancient archaeological sites discovered in North and South America suggest that humans may have reached the continent thousands of years earlier than scientists once believed. New dating techniques, DNA research, and archaeological discoveries continue to reveal new pieces of this ancient puzzle. History is still being uncovered, one discovery at a time, over countless generations. The descendants of these early travelers spread across North America. Their small hunting bands gradually grew into diverse societies. Some became master hunters, others expert fishermen, others skilled farmers. Long before Europeans ever crossed the Atlantic, millions of people already called this continent home. They were the ancestors of the Native American nations, the first caretakers of the land that would one day become the United States of America. The first Americans had completed one of humanity's greatest migrations, but their story was only beginning. Across thousands of years, their descendants would build hundreds of unique tribes, powerful cultures, and remarkable civilizations that flourished long before the arrival of Columbus. In the next chapter, we uncover the fascinating world of the Native American civilizations, the true First Nations of America. For thousands of years, the first Americans continued their journey across an enormous continent. Generation after generation, they adapted, they survived, and they transformed an unknown wilderness into a place they proudly called home. But these people were far more than wandering hunters. Over time, they built thriving communities, developed advanced knowledge, and created remarkable civilizations. Long before Europeans ever set foot in the Americas, North America was unlike any other continent on Earth. Frozen Arctic tundras, towering mountain ranges, endless grasslands, dense forests, dry deserts, and fertile river valleys. Each environment demanded a different way of life. As native people spread across these diverse landscapes, their cultures evolved in unique and extraordinary ways. No single civilization could survive everywhere. Each community learned to live in harmony with the land around them. For thousands of years, many Native American communities survived through hunting, fishing, and gathering wild plants. But gradually, something remarkable began to happen. People discovered that certain plants could be grown instead of simply collected. Corn, beans, and squash, known today as the Three Sisters, became the foundation of agriculture across much of North America. Reliable food supplies allowed families to remain in one place for longer periods. Temporary camps slowly grew into permanent villages, and permanent villages became thriving communities. Across the continent, different societies began building impressive settlements. Along the Mississippi River, large ceremonial centers rose from the fertile plains. In the deserts of the Southwest, communities carved homes directly into towering cliffs. In the eastern woodlands, villages surrounded by forests flourished beside rivers and lakes. Every region developed its own architecture, its own traditions, and its own way of life. These communities were never isolated. Long before roads, long before horses, and centuries before European ships crossed the Atlantic, Native American societies had already established vast trade networks. Shells from distant oceans, copper from the Great Lakes, obsidian from volcanic mountains, and beautifully crafted pottery travel hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles. Trade connected cultures, spread ideas, and strengthened relationships across North America. Life was no longer only about survival. Communities developed skilled artisans, talented builders, experienced farmers, spiritual leaders, and respected elders. Children learned the traditions of their ancestors. Stories were passed from one generation to the next. Knowledge of nature, the stars, the seasons, and the land became part of everyday life. These were organized societies, rich in culture, innovation, and wisdom. By the time Europe was entering the Middle Ages, millions of native people already lived across North America. Hundreds of communities, dozens of languages, and countless traditions have flourished for thousands of years. Yet this was only the beginning of their incredible story. Across the continent, powerful tribes, great confederacies, and remarkable civilizations would rise, each with its own identity, its own beliefs, and its own legacy. In the next part, we meet the great tribes and civilizations that shaped North America long before the arrival of Columbus. By the time the first European explorers looked toward the Atlantic Ocean, North America was far from an empty wilderness. It was home to millions of people, hundreds of nations, thousands of villages, and cultures that have been growing and evolving for thousands of years. Each nation had its own language, its own traditions, its own beliefs, and its own remarkable story. There was no single Native American civilization. Instead, North America was a mosaic of hundreds of independent nations. Across the Great Plains lived the ancestors of the Lakota, Dakota, and other Sioux peoples. In the eastern woodlands, powerful nations such as the Cherokee and the Haudenosaunee, also known as the Iroquois Confederacy, built organized communities and strong political alliances. Far to the southwest, the ancestors of today's Pueblo peoples constructed remarkable stone settlements. Meanwhile, the Navajo and Apache developed unique traditions that helped them survive in the harsh desert environment. Although every nation was different, all shared a deep connection with the land they called home. Some native societies grew into large and sophisticated civilizations. Near the Mississippi River, the Mississippian culture built enormous ceremonial cities. Its greatest center, Cahokia, was once home to tens of thousands of people, making it one of the largest urban centers in North America before European contact. Farther west, the ancestral Puebloans built multi-story homes into towering canyon cliffs, using remarkable engineering skills that still amaze archaeologists today. These achievements remind us that advanced societies existed across North America long before European settlement. For Native American nations, nature was more than a resource. It was sacred. Mountains, rivers, forests, animals, and the changing seasons were deeply connected to their spiritual beliefs. Many communities believed that people were caretakers of the earth rather than its owners. Stories passed from one generation to the next taught respect, balance, courage, and responsibility. These traditions became the foundation of their cultures. Native American societies were organized in many different ways. Some were led by respected chiefs. Others made important decisions through councils of elders. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy became one of the world's oldest known examples of representative government, bringing several nations together under a shared system of peace and cooperation. Families farmed fertile fields, hunted wildlife, fished in rivers, crafted pottery, wove baskets, and traded valuable goods across vast distances. Their societies were built on cooperation, knowledge, and strong family bonds. By the end of the 15th century, North America was alive with thriving communities. Trade routes stretched across the continent. Languages echoed through forests, deserts, mountains, and plains. Children learned the wisdom of their ancestors. Farmers harvested their crops. Artists created beautiful works of craftsmanship. Leaders guided their people through times of peace and conflict. For thousands of years, these civilizations had shaped the history of North America. But everything was about to change. Across the Atlantic Ocean, another chapter of history was quietly unfolding. European kingdoms were searching for new trade routes, new wealth, and new opportunities. Soon, their ships would sail into unknown waters, toward a continent they had never truly understood. The meeting of these two worlds would change history forever. In the next chapter, Asterisk, we follow the first Europeans believed to have reached North America centuries before Columbus, the incredible story of the Vikings and Leif Erikson.